Okay, so let me give you an example. I'm sure you know individualism versus collectivism, right?
Yeah.
What does that mean? So some people, right, they are high on individualistic, right? Which means they really prioritize their personal goals. And other people, if they are high in collectivism, that means they prioritize their group goals or community goals over their own goals, right? So that has a huge impact on what kind of message we send to people. Okay, so let's take smoking as an example. All right, in some countries, if the country is high on individualism, okay, the message can just focus on, okay, what are some health risks that smoking can pose onto you as an individual, okay? But the same kind of message might not work in a collectivistic culture because they don't really think that their personal issue is much of an issue, okay? But instead, if we focus on, okay, your smoking behavior can pose danger to people who you care, and all of a sudden, that goal or what they see as the benefit becomes a collective benefit, and that can be more persuasive. Okay, so that means setting not just to become a physical setting. Okay, is that at a private school or public school? Is that in China or in the United States? No. What really matters is the cultural beliefs that are already embedded in people's mind.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right.
So could you just one more time? I'm sorry, the mic was cutting out.
Oh,
on
okay.
the part of just the health trends that you noticed around TCU's campus. If you could just kind of briefly overlook that one more time, or just kind of give an overview of the stuff that you've noticed on campus,
Okay.
as well as like potential ways you might approach implementing a health campaign.
Okay. Okay. So what I see on TCU campus is mental health. That's one of them, right? So we also talk about drinking and binge drinking, unprotected sex, and related to that are like STD, a bunch of STD issues, and mental health. That's another issue that we see. So in terms of implementing campaigns, what I think is the most important is we understand our audience. Okay, what are their attitudes? What are their perceptions of social norms surrounding a target health behavior? And that's the very first thing that we need to understand. And so when we do the audience analysis, we also need to understand, okay, what are the target audience best or most frequently used of information channels? Okay, is that our TCU newsletters, or is that a brochure at our health centers, or is it text message, or is that our Facebook page? So we need to understand what's the best channel to reach out to our population. And another thing that we might also consider is how often do we want to repeat those information, because repeating once is not going to be sufficient, but repeating 100 times, probably people are immune towards those information. So that's something that is important to consider as well.
Okay, and you also mentioned just some of the health concerns that you have specifically at TCU would be more mental health,
Yeah,
e-cigarette use.
Cigarettes or e-cigarettes. Yeah, I think when I moved down here, I think I was a little bit surprised by how many students actually drink and like smoke the actual cigarettes, like traditional cigarettes. I was a little bit surprised by that. Yeah, but I'm glad that we have the tobacco-free campaign going on. I think that can be effective.
And just personally, do you have any tips on how to stay healthy, at least during the winter? Like mental health wise, just I know finals week is coming up. Do you have any tips or anything that would help students kind of reduce, maybe not stress, but just kind of like improve healthy habits overall? I know that's not really your expertise, but.
No, I mean, I think those are not really tips. I think most people would know, but it's a matter of whether they practice or not, right? Drink enough water, sleep well, okay? Don't stay up, that doesn't help. And study early. That's something that I always tell my students. Okay, don't wait until the last minute. If you have the final exam tomorrow, don't start reading the textbook the day before. Start early. That's always the key.
Okay, and sorry, just one more time.
Yeah.
Could we kind of explain the differences in terms of Chinese students versus students brought up in the United States, just kind of those cultural differences that we mentioned before the mic cut out? I'm sorry.
So there are a lot of differences in terms of cultural beliefs. Okay, so a traditional belief is Chinese people are more collectivistic, and American kids are more individualistic, right? So which means American people, they tend to prioritize their own goals above their group goals. Okay, and the Chinese people tend to be the opposite. But the trend might be changed already. And another very typical cultural difference might be power distance, okay, and also uncertainty avoidance. So those are something that people need to take into consideration when they design campaign messages.
Okay, perfect. I think we have enough material, but thank you so much for interviewing with me. I know this is going to be very helpful.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
glad to help.
Awesome.
All right. Okay, now you can turn that off.
Yeah.